Let's talk about the July Crystal Ally of the Month, Prehnite. It has a lot to say about slowing down, anchoring into the present moment, and embracing the wisdom of your soul. Welcome back, sacred friend. I am Lori Andros, the creator of the Luminary Life Podcast, and I am absolutely delighted to sink into conversation with you today about this crystal ally. It has so much to say, and as we lean into this month, this first full month of the summer season, it is here to show us what it means to really be deeply present. So let's dive in and talk a little bit about prehnite. Now, prehnite is a pretty common crystal. I can actually find it here in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan on the shores of Lake Superior. It's something that grows within the porous aspects of volcanic basalt, and it can be found throughout the world and the US. Most commonly, we find pieces that come from Mali, South Africa, um, Australia, and many other places. But you can often find them regionally. So I want to challenge you to get out in your local areas, especially those areas where you know there is volcanic rock, and begin to look. You'll be surprised at what you find. I will say here in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, I was very surprised when I started finding it on the beach. Actually, I'd find it on the beach and be really curious about it. I kind of flip that conversation a little bit. And I did, in doing digging and a lot of research, I began to find out that that's what it was. Now, often the pieces here are very faded because they're in the sunlight and they've been exposed to that for a long period of time. If you have a deep, rich, colored piece of prehnite, keep it in a shaded area. It does not particularly like the sun, but nonetheless, it still has the supportive energy that prehnite brings. In the Stone Speak Oracle, it invites us to return to our true nature. And I think this is a double-sided phrase. One in being an invitation to return to our authentic expression of self, but then the second part inviting us actually into nature to really connect with the basics, the rawness, the realness of the natural world, and to allow that to support us in resetting our nervous system, to help us slow down, to be more present, to anchor into the present moment. And this is something that when we get out into the natural world, when we spend abundant amounts of time in the natural world, this naturally happens. It unfolds with ease. And it's something that we begin to notice in a very subtle way. Chris and I, my husband, we spend every summer in the North Woods in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. And when we spend time up here, we are, I want to say off grid, but that's not really accurate. We have a nicely finished space and we're deep in the forest, but we are on 10 acres of really remote land where things just really slow down. We're deep in the forest, we're on a private lake, and it's just a very quiet space. And a couple of years ago, I had this experience where I opened the door. At this time, we were living in our camper during the summer, and I opened the camper door, and as I opened it, I had this feeling just wash over me, this thought of awareness. And the thought was, the low grade anxiety that I just feel in my day-to-day life was gone. It was just absolutely gone. It was like, whoa, what is this feeling? It was such a different sensation. And prehnite really invites us to find that feeling by slowing down, by stepping back from all of the busyness in our day-to-day life, from pulling back from the digital things that we are so heavily attached to, and getting into nature, to really immerse ourselves in nature. Because it's when we spend time allowing our body, allowing our nervous system to decompress, our soul, the depth of who we are, the wisdom that lives within, and our true like intuitive self is able to come forward in such a way that it's unmistakable. And our ability to listen to what our soul knows, the wisdom of what we're here to do, the work and the purpose that is calling our soul forward, is able to have a louder voice than the busyness of our otherwise day-to-day life. So how do we do this? How do we carve that time out? Where are those places and spaces that allow us to immerse ourselves and decompress at such a deep level? They really aren't as hard to find as we sometimes think. They are in our local areas, wherever you're living. They are around you. And sometimes we overlook and dismiss our local parks and park systems, partly because we go during busy times and we see so many people there, or we feel like it's just the place everybody goes, or we haven't quite connected with the magic of the space. But what this stone is inviting us to do is to actually step outside of our routine, to go and be present at times that are different, where we know the whole world is even more still. This is something that I've done in working with my dogs and training my dogs and learning how to navigate some of their journey with reactivity and getting to find their calm, their inner calm. And that is to find places that aren't busy, that are quiet during really unique hours. So looking early in the morning, late in the evening, and going to some of those places. Interestingly, those places are so quiet. And these are local parks with trails or places where I can just go and sit by the water with the girls or by myself in really quiet hours. Now, I know that this is quite a luxury to spend an entire summer off, off in the woods. But I want to encourage you to look at your own life, your day to day life, and look for those places where you can squeeze in a little pause on your way to work or on your way home in the evening, or where you can get out for a little walk just before you go to bed at night. Shaking up our routine is a really great way to see our life a little bit differently, to open up a window for being even more present in our day to day experience and allowing ourselves to slow down. Yeah, this is one of the big messages that Prehnite brings to us this month. It's inviting us to slow down. The world is busy. Our lives are busy. There are things going on. You know this. We all know this. We live this, we experience this, we see this around ourselves every day and in so many ways and places, right? And every time we think we're going to carve out a moment, something fills that space in. But Prehnite has this subtle way of creating that space without us needing to take a lot of conscious action. It gives us that little nudge within our thoughts, within our heart, within our mind, to pause, to maybe detour from our usual route home or our usual route to work. It helps us to be ready a couple minutes early so that we can have the space to pause somewhere, to make a visit to a park on the way to work or on our way home. And it helps us to see some of those places where we maybe otherwise would have thought that the slowing down needed to happen for just ourselves, and to begin to recognize how we can bring other people in our lives and in our world into that. I think this is one of the greatest gifts about being up in the woods during the summer. It's that Our friends and family and loved ones have become a part of the ritual of being here. They too join us and they love the experience of coming here and just slowing down, having deep, meaningful conversations, being able to linger over a warm cup of tea in the morning as we sit outside, watching the birds and all the activity on the lake begin to unfold. Summer is such a great season for slowing down. All of life is alive. There's so much to watch. And the warmth of the weather, it invites us to be even more present within our bodies, to feel them, to nourish them differently, to slow down and listen. Prehnite teaches us that slowing down is the pathway to inner peace. The next message that Prehnite shares is to anchor into the now. I feel like this is one of those things that dances in and kind of intersects or interweaves with the energy of slowing down, with that message of slowing down. The two of them really work together beautifully. As we slow down, we anchor into the present. And as we anchor into the present, we anchor into ourselves. We're more deeply present with ourselves. We're more attuned to our intuition. We're more able to listen to our inner guidance and inner wisdom. We're more able to witness what is unfolding in the world around us. Recently, I had a project that I was diving into, and I was feeling this kind of energy of frustration. Like, why did I say yes to this? The timing's so bad. I just want to be in the woods. I just want to be doing my woods thing. I don't want to have to deviate and dive back into, whatever this project was, right? And I kind of just had this like sort of energy around it. And finally, about 2 days ago, I just dropped in and I was like, what I realized was that I wasn't fully giving myself the space to listen. Yes, I was in the woods. Yes, I was enjoying this slowdown for the summer, but I still was creating noise in my world. I was still tuning into shows on Amazon. I was distracting myself with other conversations and things that, just let me stay distracted. And when I pulled back from some of those things and let myself begin to listen, what the project was requiring of me became so clear and so easy to dive into. And when I opened that space, when I gave myself the permission to just step back and to just anchor into the present and into the moment of what was required for this project, the space opened, my intuition tapped in, insights flowed, clarity was there. Clarity was present. I think this is one of the things that we're often looking for, but we keep ourselves so busy and so distracted that we don't have the space or the capacity to receive the clarity that we're asking for. I do this all the time. Hands up if you can relate to this. I think this is a part of our human nature. It's a part of how our culture has evolved and developed over the past many years, especially since 2020. We keep ourselves busy, we keep ourselves distracted, and we have restricted and restricted and restricted the space to listen and be present even more. Pre-night is saying, hey, slow down, anchor into this present moment, and let yourself receive the wisdom, the clarity, the intuitive knowing, the guidance that wants to come through for you, that wants to lead you forward. Because it's there, it's always there. Give it space, give it space. All right. And then the third message here is about really embracing this journey of soul discovery, soul revelation. This has been showing up with a couple different phrases, but the ultimate essence and the energy underneath it is about letting ourselves really embrace the most authentic expression of who we are, which this goes back to that message from the Stone Speak Oracle. Return to your true nature. Your true nature is your most authentic expression. It is the very core of who you are. It is what allows your light to expand and to shine and to be brilliant and bright in the world. And pre-night invites us into that place. It invites us to slow down, be present, and be fully embodied in such a deep and anchored way. It's from that place that we can source what it is we're here to share, the medicine, the gifts, the wisdom, the things, the projects, the ideas, the inspiration that is so deeply lived and alive within our soul, within our heart. That is when from it's from that place where we can birth it and bring it into the world. This is one of the most beautiful aspects of working with Prehnite. And I love how it is showing up this month, in the month of July. We're just over the first half of the year. We're just stepping into the second half of the year. And if we look back over the past couple of months and over the journey that each of us have taken, it's obviously it looks very unique for each of us, but there's been kind of collective themes that we've moved through. And the way the crystals and the stones like to work with us is to show up as an ally for the collective for each month and kind of help us map a journey as we're moving through. Last month, we worked with Crystal Ally Prehnite or Pyrite, Prehnite now, Pyrite last month. We worked with Crystal Ally Pyrite, which really invited us into our sacral chakra, and it invited us into our sense of personal power, our sense of will, our sense of knowing our inner strength and power. And it brought forward an aspect of the feminine that hasn't been present with pyrite before, but it really brought it into the conversation. In the sanctuary circle, this is something that really showed up in a strong energy as we dove in and journeyed with pyrite. It shared with us how important it is to recognize and embody the power of the feminine at this time. And so, what's interesting with that is that we've had this dance with pyrite and with the energy of power over the past decade, exploring the ways that power has been distorted and contorted, and the ways it's been misused, and pulling back layer and layer and layer. And this time, it invited us into a place of real embodiment of the ways that the feminine wants to rise in the power within all beings, the ways that wants to inform the way we use our own power. And prior to that, we worked with carnelian, which worked with our sacral chakra, our creative energy. It invited us into the place of attuning to our inner compass, our ability to create our lives and our reality. And this arc of energy that's unfolding, bringing us this month into our heart, it's really an interesting progression that I see with these crystals and the ways that they're inviting us to to come to know ourselves and to work with the energy of this year to lay a new foundation for the world that we are collectively bringing into form so that we can dream and vision it from a place of purity, from a place of complete love and possibility, without restriction, without the overlay of old truths, old patterns, old ways of being, and open up the space to what is possible next. What a beautiful place to be. Yeah. And what a great ally to be working with this month, to really step into our hearts, to embrace the true nature of who we are, to reconnect with nature, to anchor into the present, and to slow down. Yeah. Such a great ally this month. Mm. I want to thank you for joining me today for this episode of the Luminary Life Podcast. And if you want to dive a little bit deeper with me, I want to invite you to check out my Enter the Earth, a guided meditation. There's a link down below that will take you on a shamanic journey deep into the belly of the earth. You'll be invited to work with a crystal ally, your choice. If you want to journey with Prehnite, have fun. I'm sure it will have a lot to say. You'll be guided to receive a message of inspiration and wisdom from the crystals and stones, and it will take you into deeper connection with your soul, your authentic self, and the message and wisdom that wants to come forward within you. Also, if you enjoyed this video today, I want to invite you to give it a thumbs up, share it with a friend, family, loved one who you know would benefit from it, and be sure to subscribe, hit the bell to get updates every time I post a new video. And I look forward to connecting with you in the coming episodes. Until then, my sacred friend, have a beautiful day, and as always, shine brightly. Bye for now.